Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 68th part of What If Deku Was Sanji's Reincarnation, My Heroes Reborn. The author of this great fanfic is Emily. Links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 68, Smashing Practice. Izuku made his way to the training grounds, which was one of the ones that looked like a city. He wasn't sure how to feel about it. They weren't hiding the fact that they were mentor and student anymore due to how obvious it was to this classmate. He really wasn't scared about facing All Might also, due to the fact that he was facing All Might. He just had to think of it like a spar. All Might, said Izuku. Are you ready, young Midoriya? Asked All Might. Just give me a minute, said Izuku. Don't worry, remember this is just to see what your limits are, said All Might. I know. Momo actually made it harder for herself knowing that, said Izuku. Really? I knew she won, said All Might, but I didn't think she made it harder. It does make sense that Chuko did share her weakness during her internship, said Izuku. Before we get started, are you sure you did get over your mental blocks? Asked All Might. I'm sure, said Izuku. He then took a breath and channeled the quirk all throughout his body. All right, I'm ready, said Izuku. All Might smiled. Izuku activated armament haki and the two aimed attacks at each other. All Might with a punch and Izuku with a kick. When the two attacked collided, there was a shock that blew away everything. All Might grinned at his protege. Izuku activated observation haki, knowing it was better to have it on the entire fight. His eyes widened a little as noticed something but then dodged a punch. He then managed to kick All Might, however he blocked. It created another shockwave, just not as powerful at the first. In the observation room, everyone was gaping at the fight. Seriously? Yelled Suro in shock. Their quirks are similar, and we already knew that Midoriya is powerful, said Tsuyu. How much has Midoriya been holding back? Yelled Kaminari. I don't think we want to know, muttered Kyoka. However, Katsuki was watching and seemed to be getting a little irritable for some reason. Hey Bakugo, what's wrong? Asked Kirishima. It's nothing, muttered Bakugo. He really should have seen it before. It was so obvious now that he was them fight. Unlike the other thing, he knew he should talk to Izuku about it. After all, the nerd needed to learn about the other thing on his own. This thing is something they really needed to talk to about. Back at the training ground. Now it's time to get serious, said All Might. Wait, what? Asked Izuku. Carolina Smash, called out All Might, giving a scissor-like chop. Izuku managed to dodge before it could hit. He then activated Diable Jam. So you're using your fire, said All Might. Izuku nodded. Let's see if I can put that out, said All Might. Izuku sighed, knowing that it was going to be very difficult. After all, he once had seen All Might change the weather with a single punch. So he wasn't sure if All Might could put out his fire with an attack. But he still had to try. All Might blinked, and during the time it took for him to blink, Izuku was already on him and discovered a harsh kick that was fiery but also sent All Might flying, crashing into several buildings. Izuku flinched when that happened due to what he had been sensing, but breathed a sigh of relief sensing that All Might was fine. But he still had to prepare for All Might's comeback attack and took to the air. And he was able to dodge All Might going in for the attack due to being prepared. That was a toasty kick, young Midoriya, said All Might with a proud smile, but it wasn't enough. All Might literally clapped, and it caused a large gust of wind that destroyed many nearby windows. However, it didn't snuff out of the flames on Izuku's leg. What? Asked All Might, seeing the green flames still alight. Well, considering they can still burn underwater, I think it makes sense they're not easily put out, said Izuku, blushing while explaining that. All Might blinked in surprise but then smiled. That's quite impressive, said All Might. Izuku blushed a little before going in for another attack. In the observation room, the class watch and they were getting certain vibes from the fight. Which was odd as the fight has already destroyed several buildings among other things. That was when Momo arrived. "How is the fight going?" asked Momo. "Weird," said Kaminari. "What does that mean?" asked Momo. She looked at the fight. She saw how much destruction was caused, but also noticed the body language and the vibe it was getting, and sweat dropped. "A fight like this shouldn't be giving off proud dad vibes," said Zero with a sweat drop. "Maybe he is All Might's secret love child after all," said Todoroki. "Fuck no, icy hot," yelled Katsuki. "I've met Deku's dad. It ain't All Might. Just fucking drop it already." Todoroki looked at him. Katsuki just glared at him. "Should we say something?" asked Achiko with a sweat drop. "I don't think we should," said Toru. Of course they counted to watch the fight. Back on the training ground, the two started to once again exchange blows. With Izuku either dodging All Might's smashes or taking them and covering that part of his body in armament hockey. Though the latter was rare, as more often than not he would be sent flying due to the punches, but he never crashed into buddlings as he quickly recovered in midair and used skywalk to run back. All Might was able to take most of the kicks given to him, though occasionally he was sent flying him. Though during the fight, All Might couldn't help but to wonder something aloud. "What do you think the percentage of how much your legs could handle?" he asked. "I don't know without hockey, but I don't want to push it," admitted Izuku. "Fair enough," said All Might with a nod. He then managed to once again to smash Izuku with a Detroit smash. But Izuku dodged. Izuku looked at All Might and knew it was time to up things. He took a breath and knew what he had to do. He knew what memory he had to use in this fight. Even though All Might had more than made up for it, it was still a terrible memory for him. And soon Izuku was covered in the green flames. All Might knew that this was coming. However, he noticed the way Izuku started to avoid eye contact. "You told me how that move works," said All Might. Izuku had almost forgotten he did tell All Might how hell memories work. It was back during sports festival. "I understand if you use that memory in fight. That moment was one of my biggest regrets," said All Might, "and I am very sorry for what I said in that moment." Izuku gave a small smile before launching himself at All Might. All Might blocked the kick, but he could tell this fire was much hotter than the usual. He could see a nearby metal melting at as well. But All Might was able to take it without any problems. However, Izuku had to dodge another attack and once again took to the air to do so. All Might performed a mighty leap to follow him in the air. "You know, young Midoriya, there's more than one way to jump into the air," said All Might. "I know. I remember," said Izuku. The flames got a little bigger. He just remembered something from their first meeting that just annoyed him. "Oh yeah. I remember that now," said All Might with a little embarrassment. He managed to kick All Might and sent All Might once again flying into a building. To be fair, telling someone to let go in midair is a really dumb idea. All Might, however, quickly recovered and Izuku landed. He looked around and realized something as he did. He knew he showed off everything he could do save for Hell Memories Smash, which he would never use on All Might. Plus he thought that now would be a good idea to stop. "I think we should stop," said Izuku as the flames went out. "Are you sure?" asked All Might. "I think everyone has a good idea on what I can do," said Izuku. All Might was about to say something, but then, as if he only finally noticed, he saw the devastation they had caused. "All right, you might have a point, my boy," said All Might. Izuku laughed while rubbing the back of his head. In the observation room, everyone just stared at the devastation they caused as the feat ended. Aizawa just sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose. The upcoming license exam was going to be a huge mess. And they weren't even finished the reassessments. "Katsuki, it's your turn," said Momo. "I'm going," he muttered. Once he was out the doors, Ida, Kirishima, and Momo all pulled out their transceivers just to make sure he would be fine. He doesn't get that lost, does he? Asked Tsuyu. He's somewhat better than me, in that he doesn't get lost trying to find his room, but he's in denial about not having a sense of direction that he needs to be watched more than me. Sighed Mashireo. Hopefully it won't take him too long to get the training ground. Said Ida. Back at the training ground that Izuku and All Might were using, All Might started to steam. Hey, you okay? Asked Izuku. Before All Might could answer, he coughed up blood and went into his true form. All Might! Cried Izuku. I'm fine, young Midoriya. Said All Might, brushing it off. I really should be used to that. Sighed Izuku. All Might chuckled. Hey, there's something I noticed during the fight, you don't have much of one for all. Sighed Izuku. All Might coughed up blood in shock, causing Izuku to cry out. I guess since I don't know much about hockey, you must have somehow noticed. Sighed All Might. Yeah. Said Izuku. All Might sighed. I only have one fight left within me. Admitted All Might. Izuku's eyes widened. It was going to happen sooner to later. Said All Might. I know, but if you didn't do this. Said Izuku. I wanted to do this. Said All Might, to firsthand how much stronger you've gotten. They all looked at the devastation around them. If you're able to keep the damage to a minimum, you have a bright future ahead. Said All Might. Half of it is because of you. Said Izuku in Sanji mode. Okay, you have a point. Said All Might. He took a breath. However, I wanted this chance before I could lose it. Said All Might, after all you gained so much from your past life, I wanted to see how much it helped you grow. Izuku blushed when All Might said that. You're going to be a fine hero when you grow up. Said All Might. Thanks. Said Izuku. With that, the fifth reassessment had ended, with only left. And it was going to turn out in a way almost no one would expect. After all, no one but Izuku and Katsuki knew the full extent of Zoro's skills. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 69. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.